The purpose of this research is to explore reasons for the lack of communication between leadership and laity in the small rural churches and to present the best solutions to solve this issue. The smaller rural churches are struggling to exist and keep the doors to their churches open for several reasons. One of them being the lack of how to implement administrative guidelines. 2, not updating to the 21st century technology. 3, the lack of management. And essentially 4, the lack of communication. The best approach is to engage the leadership and laity in seminars, training, and forums to interact with the purpose on how to work and to learn together to break down this barrier of lack of communication. When both groups are intimately involved in learning together, it creates an atmosphere conducive for change to occur. Some rural churches have turned to local professional leaders in the community to help in the areas of teaching and training in the field of finance, management, and communication. Churches must implement more programs, seminars, and workshops to promote communication and change to effectively produce growth and unity in the church and in the community. In today's small rural churches, the lack of communication between leadership and laity has become a real issue. The larger, stable urban churches need to embrace the smaller rural churches to help identify the roots of lack of communication issues. Some of those issues consist of a breakdown in communication, a decline in membership, and its effect on the trust and morals within the community, as the church is to be the light in the community. However, it is quite possible, due to this lack of communication between leadership and laity, this has caused a conflict within the church. Coming together to address this issue depends on both the leadership and laity communicating and working together effectively. This will impact a positive change and growth in both the church and in the community. The church body must learn that it is okay to disagree agreeably. According to Herb Miller, in his article called New Ideas in Church Vitality and Leadership, he contends that eliminating church quarreling patterns is a complex challenge. People who usually fight are inclined to keep fighting. We must realize that with the issue of the lack of communication, it can essentially be won to close the doors. However, with communication being open, it can be won to lead to open doors. So if this issue of lack of communication continues, our churches will be forced to fold and to close the doors. And how can that be a help to ourselves or even a help to those within our community? Previous efforts have been attempted to address and correct the issue of lack of communication between the leadership and laity. In Angela Hardy's dissertation, she conducted a study that involved both leaders and laity, that each participated in a questionnaire and also in a survey on the issues and how they were holding back from the growth and the unity of the church. The group engaged in sessions to address the concerns stated on each questionnaire and in each survey. Now, according to Dr. Hardy, she stated, it became quite apparent during this session that one of the reasons the church is so dysfunctional is that too many people have been hurt by another person in the church and the conflict has never been resolved. And for that reason, two parties have continued to refuse to talk to each other or even work together. Based on Dr. Angela Hardy's dissertation, we can comprise with the following thoughts. When people do not feel love and togetherness, conflict often creeps in, along with isolation, which then converts back to the lack of concern and responsibility. This also contributes to the lack of communication with the church leaders and laity amongst themselves. In Dr. Hardy's conclusion, leaders and laity vowed to work together in harmony in the church and within the community. She later revisited this same church to find where there were some positive changes in the prior mission department, which to her surprise, as they were once reluctant to do so, and the very ones that did not show the willingness to improve, they were the very ones that recruited additional members. The main goal to achieve is for leadership and laity to communicate and work together effectively. This will allow the sharing of different roles within the church to enhance the church growth. For starters, organize a luncheon and an open forum meeting with all the leaders and members to discuss the areas of breakdowns in communication. Simply ask, where did we go wrong? This is to be done because the auxiliary leaders and members have the most at stake. Secondly, when having this open forum, be able to discuss the issues about how vital it is to be a working church that meets the need of the people and the community within their leadership roles. It is for this reason that leadership and laity are to come together to talk over issues, to brainstorm solutions, and reinforce those ideas as a church body. This is also another tool to express how vital the church is in the community. This leads to the next step the church must take. We must learn the ways to explain in detail and with clarity the bylaws of the governing church regarding the qualifications of holding certain leadership roles. This method should be utilized so that everyone gets a better of an understanding of what bylaws of the church actually mean. Then, if there needs to be a restructuring of positions based on those particular qualifications, the church can then have the right people in the most qualified positions. Next, having seminars and classes on training in leadership roles, because the more knowledge a person has, the more equipped those same persons will be in order to effectively accomplish each and any goal. See, Mr. George LaSure comprised a tool called the IMPRO model, which is an empowerment project. And Mr. LaSure stated, the empowerment project is capable of delivering the necessary tools and skills to the leadership of rural and small membership churches, which will enable them to perform at a much higher level. Now, this same article that Mr. LaSure expressed, he stated how a training seminar and forum is a powerful tool for sharing information about the rural church. The information is concerning how to do budget preparation, church comprehension planning, and how the church can better meet their goals with better preparation and better planning. These same seminars provided a how-to for each and every participant. Now we can comprise this information together and come with a solid thought. When people are taught how to do things and what to do with them, the overall functioning of the church is enhanced and empowered by that knowledge. Next is to have consistent quarterly meetings and training within the roles of leadership. Likewise, there will be additional updates, follow-up meetings, and continued education of these same leadership roles. Finally, there will be weekly updates of progress and new goals will be implemented going forward. Another method to utilize are study groups on biblical teaching and communication through the eyes of exemplifying Christianity. Biblical knowledge and the study of the Word of God is powerful and transforming, so it can reveal unlimited possibilities to explore solutions to the issues of the lack of communication within the church. The implementing of this solution would help the church to become an effective working church, and it will move the church out of stagnation and into progression, and the bond the church and the community should essentially hold together. Once people have another new perspective on an issue or idea, and they begin to brainstorm together, then a solution will be provided to combat the lack of knowledge between the leaders and laity. This solution will be feasible and affordable due to local professional community leaders offering pro bono services of expertise in appropriate fields such as financial training, seminars and successful communication skills, and in other areas that need to be addressed. Another solution will be based on leaders and laity having now developed skills in working together and effectively communicating with one another. It also helps to understand that there are always more ways to learn. Changing of mindsets on issues in the church to promote a positive outlook towards growth in ministry and the community is possible. Lastly, leadership and laity have to be committed to make the church successful by any means possible within Christianity. He that has an ear, let him hear. Where there is unity, there is strength. And the meaning to that phrase is that when we are divided or maintain a divided mindset, we cannot grow in unity. Coming together as one creates a stronger bond that no one can break. This creates an answer to our conflict. It is leadership's responsibility, by being the shepherd of that community, to detect the issues and resolve them before more issues arise. Frederick Douglass summed it up best. He said, where there is no struggle, there is no progress. Struggling should not always be looked at as a bad thing or even as a setback. It teaches people how to grow in tough times, and it also teaches us how we need one another in various ways. So in conclusion, for a church to be effective in communication, you have to have an ear to listen and a mindset to put forth an effort to change. People must learn to use the knowledge that they have and work together to build and edify the church, no matter how big and no matter how small. In the church, as leaders and laity, one must remember that the real mission is for the church to be the light of the community.